Hi, everyone. Welcome to our Difference Makers webinar series, focused on spotlighting people and organizations that are driving a culture of innovation across the country. I'm Steve Miller with Aviture, and today we're talking to Amy Johnson, the co-founder and CEO of LifeLoop, about how LifeLoop keeps senior living residents better connected to their communities, their families, and the world around them. Before we get started, just a quick note. If there's something you missed or you want to go back and watch the replay, don't worry. We're going to send this directly to your inbox so you can watch it again later. And with that, let's do this. All right, Amy, good to see you. Nice to see you again.
You too.
How are you doing?
I'm great. Doing
Awesome.
really good. How about you?
Yep. I think everyone's pretty well acclimated to working from home and dealing with all of the challenges that go with that. But really enjoy being able to connect with you. It's been a while. We worked in the same office for a while, and we're going to talk more about that today. But just to get us started, do you want to share a little bit about the background of LifeLoop, how you got started?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for having me on. I'm excited to do this, and it's good to see you. Yeah, I can give kind of a little history of the company and how it all came about. So it was really initially born from a personal situation that Kent, who's also a co-founder, and my husband, um, had with his grandma. So his grandma was in a senior living community, and we really felt a gap in that communication with the staff, but also with her and our other family members. And so we thought, oh, we'll just very naively, we thought we'll just create an app for the families. And so a fun fact about the co-founding team, it's Kent and I and Phil, and Kent actually, works full-time elsewhere. He just kind of got it going, and Phil and I took it from there. But none of us are from senior living, and none of us have a technology background. So
Perfect.
It was a very hilarious idea that we would just create this family app. And so
Amy, if you don't mind, when about was that?
That was in 2013 when Kent and Phil really were talking about it. And at that time, I was just kind of listening and on the side, and we had our second child at that time. So I was just, okay, let's see what happens here. It was just kind of a project, right?
Yeah.
And so at that point, we kind of researched doing some stuff with a couple of freelancers on the software side, and we realized we were in way over our head. But we also realized too that we really didn't know what we were going to build or how we were going to build it. So not only did we not know how to build software, we didn't know what we'd put in the software if we built it. And so that's when we sat down with Dial Retirement Communities and asked the president, Ted Lowndes, if this was a problem in senior living. And he said, yeah, it's a large problem. And again, we were just really focused on the family side of things. And so he, at that point, said, if you guys build something like this, I'll agree to be your first customer. And so, yeah, so we had a commitment from somebody that was willing to use a product we didn't have. And so that's really when I got involved and went into communities to figure out, okay, why doesn't something like this exist? And really at that point, we realized the problem was a lot bigger of a problem. Yes, there's a gap in communication with families, but there's just a larger gap on the operation side for communities to gather this information and have efficiencies. And so we really focused building kind of all three views, which we've expanded on significantly. So now, we have the staff platform, the family, and the resident side of things too. And so those are all, part of what we've been doing. But also, I think more importantly, learning along the way from the customers how we built the whole product. And I feel really great about where it's at now. But yeah, it's been quite the journey.
Yeah, I bet. And from what I understand and what hopefully our listeners will learn about is you should feel good about where you're at today. It's been super exciting to watch kind of that maturation and journey from my perspective on the sidelines. But yeah, we're going to share some of that with our viewers today.
Great.
So 2013, 7+ year journey. And you guys started with a mindset. I mean, entrepreneurs, innovation. I see a problem, I see a lack of a solution, and we're validating that with what we're observing and the research that you've done. But how has that commitment to innovation from inception through that full 7-year journey? How has that commitment to innovation really shaped where LifeLoop is at today?
Yeah, I think it's been, I've never thought of it as a commitment to innovation, but I guess that is what it is. It's been a commitment or an obsession with just solving a problem. And that problem, the more you dig into it, the more you realize, oh, this could be better and this could be better. And then, you have your first version of something and you're like, well, we could even make that better. And so it's kind of just how we naturally operate as a company. Which I guess is what the culture we've built is just always, can this be better? What are we missing? And being really intentional on focusing on those things, I think has is the reason we are successful, is because you become kind of obsessed with doing that and doing that the right way and always refining, you know, not only the product, but the team and everything around it is kind of driven that way.
Yeah, very good. I really like that. Can this be better mindset? Right.
Yeah.
Across, I'm sure from a client and offering perspective, but then also from a business entity perspective as well. Can this be
Yeah.
better?
Yeah. Always kind of saying what could we be doing better internally, usually it is what makes it better for the client.
Excellent, excellent. So with that commitment to innovation, constantly asking that question, can this be better? What challenges have you guys faced along the way? I'm sure there's
Oh,
several.
geez. Yeah, where do you begin there? I think, I mean, right off the bat, we didn't know how to build software. So luckily we came in contact with Aviture. That was huge, but it was a challenge for us because it was, our whole team initially, Phil and I really just digging in, like, how do you build software? So the whole journey has just been a series of challenges that have been fun to kind of figure out and overcome. And so, that's one. I think you have your different phases of, does this even make sense? And you have your product market fit. You have your growth stage, and now we're really like in the scaling stage. And each of those, I mean, has a significant challenge, I would say. Um, this one's probably the hardest for me, because the stage we're in now, just because um all of a sudden, what I'm good at is building something up to this point. Now it's just, there's a lot that maybe isn't my strength. So figuring out who on my team does have that strength. And, you get to that point where, what you were good at in the beginning is maybe not what's going to take it to the next level. So figuring that out and really using your talent the right way is where we're at now. And it's still fun, but yeah, just a lot of different challenges and growing pains and figuring stuff out. So yeah, every stage has a different challenge. And this one right now is definitely, it's super fun. It's my personally my most challenging, just because it's out of my comfort zone more than the others.
I think that's by nature the art of innovation is putting yourself in those situations where maybe you're doing something that you hadn't done before or something that no one has done before, and you're finding out where your limits are and how to push past them. So I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Can, can
crazy
we
cool.
Yeah, right. the
Yep.
life of an innovator. So, but pulling back just a little bit, can you briefly describe, like from a client user perspective, what does LifeLoop do? Who does it help? How does it help them?
Yeah. So we sell the it's a subscription based, a SaaS platform that we sell to senior living communities, and that can be across all levels of care, from skilled nursing to independent living. And we have users in all of those levels of care. They purchase the product. Why they purchase it depends on kind of the level of care and the problem they're solving. But we do things that range from all their activity calendars to their engagement tracking to their digital signage, transportation, maintenance. We just revamped our communication platform. So emergency broadcast type stuff. And then they determine if they engage family And then once the family is connected, the family can log in and see what their loved one went to, didn't go to. Photo sharing is involved on all areas. They can get the announcements, communication, and then the resident can also log in. And so, independent living, assisted living, skilled too, residents can log in. It just depends on kind of their ability to or their interest in technology. And so it becomes that platform where it creates that connection between all parties. But the actual customer is the community, and then the family, I would say, is our secondary customer.
Okay, great. So 2013 idea,
Mhm.
and then you maybe experiment with some freelance folks.
Yeah, it didn't go well. Didn't go.
Got connected to Aviture, and so from its inception in 2013, I please remind me, when did you guys launch your initial beta?
Yeah, so I quit my job in February of 15, but we were in the garage, starting in 2014. And so I was kind of doing both. And then we launched into our first dial communities in January of 2015. I quit my job in February. But I mean, looking back, it's funny that we learned so much from that initial launch into that community. I feel bad looking back, like that poor community. Um, but they were fantastic. So really the end of 2013, all of 2014, we were focused on applying for a grant, joining Aviture in the garage, creating what the MVP was. And then we were at Aviture until probably that would have been end of 2016. And so that's during those years were some crucial points of our first clients, our first feedback, me selling something that doesn't exist. And at the time it was Wayne having to figure it out. So a lot of really cool things were developed during those first, 2.5, 3 years when we didn't even have any clients or revenue really. I mean, we had one client. So it's crazy though how much we learned in that foundation in those early years.
Yeah, so that initial community, all
Mhm.
the lessons learned and some of the hardships in that early innovation. We mentioned at the very beginning that you feel pretty good with where you're at. So from 2015, 16 up until now, LifeLoop and you specifically have earned some accolades along the way. Would you mind sharing a few of those?
Yeah, we have. So in 2016, the big one was we received the investment from Steve Case and Rise of the Rest. And that was through the road tour that they did in Omaha and Lincoln. And that's been really, really great because it gives us access to Revolution, which is that team and just different resources and exposure that, we probably wouldn't have got. So that was a great way to kind of just learn more on a larger national scale. Um, and then our team has received, we just got the top tech culture award from Powder Keg and the top balance life award. So there's some great team ones. And my team, my Andrea Clausen does a lot of our marketing and she's fantastic. So I can't take a lot of credit for that, but she does all of that. And there's been some other like top tech startup stuff that we've got, and it's all just kind of happened naturally, which is why it's so fun. So
Naturally, with a lot of
yeah,
vision and hard work.
a lot of hard work. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely a lot of hard work.
Yeah, just depends on how you define naturally, right?
Yeah,
So 2016, out in the wild, winning accolades and awards. That was all pre-COVID.
yeah.
So obviously there was a strong demand signal and need, and folks, customers, and clients all see value in the solution pre-COVID. Can you share maybe some of the right place, right time, but then also some of the unique challenges that have come in the last year or so?
Yeah, absolutely. I think pre-COVID, we really focused on building out this whole operational side of things, and the family stuff seemed really obvious to us. And we definitely had communities engaging family pre-COVID, but I do think, come March, really March and April, all of a sudden, no families can visit. A lot of our clients weren't using us for the communication side of things. They were more using it for the calendars and the tracking and photos, but like, hey, how are you mass communicating that there's a COVID case? Or how are you mass communicating that there's a hurricane? It was like the fires, the hurricane, COVID, everything was happening. And a lot of times they're using multiple systems, and it's really all on LifeLoop. So um, we onboarded a lot of people quickly. We've tripled since March.
Wow.
And so and that's in all aspects, team as well. Maybe not quite tripled on the team side, but it's been a lot and it's been great. But it did take a pandemic for the senior living industry to realize, okay, we have to get ahead of technology, which they've responded to fantastically. And so I think now it's changed how a lot of our clients think, and you don't want to be late to the game in technology, which pre-COVID we were selling was really hard. It was, trying to get them to understand their return on investment, but also like moving quickly. It was always like, oh, this is just so exhausting. I don't want to deal with implementing technology. So I think the mindset completely shifted, which it just took a pandemic. And now, I mean, we've had to do a lot on the fly and, figure things out. But I would say overall, it's been one of the kind of silver linings. Like you got to be ahead of some of these operational things in order. You just don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, if I could just connect a few of the dots that you shared with us already with that focus on can this be better? Put you guys and your team in a position back in March of 20 to have all of the right pieces. I mean, you basically were ready for the flood or the onslaught because you had a solid infrastructure, you had a solid product,
Yeah.
you had a solid team base to scale. If any of that was fragile, I don't know that you guys would have been able to respond as well as you did. So
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, and it's interesting because we did, I think maybe some of it's luck too. We just timed it right with some of the changes we made on some architecture stuff. And, I give all credit goes to, Mitchell, JT, Phil for seeing that and understanding that need. But the other piece of that is we did you have to do some non-scalable things to realize what you need to do. And so, there was one feature that I had everybody on the team was manually entering contacts because we didn't have this one feature built, which meant we need to build this feature, right? And so but we got the business, we figured it out, we got it done, and then we built the feature the right way. And sometimes when you do those things, it helps you realize, well, you have to add this or do that in order to know what to do.
yeah,
So
definitely. I think that's interesting whenever you look at innovation and you say, how do I do this manually or painfully? How painful is it? How often do I have to do it? That drives yep. And that's what we're doing next.
yeah, all of a sudden the developers are like, yeah, we will get that done. But it's also good for the rest of the team to understand, like it gives you a lot of customer empathy too, of like, this is what they would have to do, or all of a sudden it, makes you realize why you're doing it.
Yeah. I'm super impressed when you've got a team of folks focused on innovation, everybody rowing in the same direction. I mean,
Yeah.
that's super special. I love seeing that about you guys.
We have a really great group of people.
Awesome. Awesome. Is what's probably over the past 7 years? And you've shared a few stories already, but what's one unique memory of the whole process that you've really glommed onto that you like to share with folks when they tell me about LifeLoop? Tell me what it's been like.
And there's so many. I feel like the rise of the wet rest was like a really good validation for the company. Um, and it was something that like I didn't want to do. This whole thing is like, whoa, Man, how did this all happen? What's happening? But the rest was it was such a cool memory because it was, um, the early days still, trying to figure something out, and all of a sudden it was like, oh my gosh, we can do this. This is kind of the shot in the arm we needed. I'd say that is definitely one that sticks out for me. But then also we've done these milestones, like the level of communities. And I remember when we hit 100 communities, it was like amazing, right? It was like, but I could still feel like, oh my gosh, now we got to go to the next stage. But just we went and celebrated, and it was a huge deal. And it was one of those moments I'll never forget. So it's pretty cool.
Super cool. Yeah, definitely. Well, really appreciate you sharing all this time. We do have a few more questions, maybe a little bit
Yeah.
more lighthearted to kind of hit you with, but again, really appreciate you sharing your journey, the experience of innovation from scratch. Sometimes we on our webinar series we'll talk to folks that have maybe had an existing process and they needed to revitalize and innovate something that already existed. And I really enjoyed hearing about LifeLoop and how you guys innovated from just observing and experiencing firsthand a real world problem and coming up with a creative way to solve it. You made it better. So
I
good.
hope so. That's
Yeah,
cool, right?
absolutely. All right. So don't even think about them. First thought that pops into your mind, Mac or PC?
Mac.
Oh, no
Girl,
doubt.
all the way.
All right. This is a kids program, but what emoji would you say you use the most?
By far, I think my top four, let's see here. The cry face one is always like the funny cry face is my top. Let me see here. And then how do I this is how special I am. Oh, there we go. It's the top four. Is that
Yeah.
cry face, thumbs up, and the wide-eyed one?
Surprise. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think I've used that one a few times myself.
Those are my
Definitely.
top. It sums up my life. I'm like, this is funny. This is terrifying.
So now you guys are software innovation experts.
Yeah.
What's one piece of technology from a TV, movie, or book that you wish was already here? Maybe some futuristic sci-fi thing. I want this now.
I'm so not cool like that, Steve. I don't know. Well, this isn't like that, but I just got invited to Clubhouse. Have you heard of this?
I haven't. What is this?
Well, I didn't know it was so cool until I was invited to speak on it, but it's really cool. You get invited, and it's kind of like they want it to feel exclusive, but it's going to be one of those things where I would think everybody will be on soon. But it's like a live podcast that you can pop into and ask questions,
Okay.
but it's just audio. I feel like it's really I wish I would have had it before because they have different like topics and you can pop in and listen and then you can ask questions. It's kind of like a webinar, but live.
Yeah.
And
Interesting.
they're not recorded. Kind of just nice to have a group of people to relate to if you're especially during this time when people are at home. So
Interesting. I'll have to look that up. So
yeah, I
Clubhouse
don't know if
sounds like an audio version of Reddit, maybe.
it is. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly what it is.
Okay. Very cool.
It was like
Well,
a headline today, so I'm sure you're going to start hearing about it.
yeah, definitely. I Now we're going to the Wayback Time machine. I remember when Gmail was exclusive and you had to be invited to it, right?
Right? I know. Why is it like the whole concept of like if it feels exclusive, everybody wants to be a part of it? I don't know.
Yeah.
Silliness.
That's supply and demand.
I know. I
I
hear
want
you.
it and can't have it. Well, Amy, I really do appreciate it. It was good to see you and spend some time
Thank
together.
you. Thank you. Thanks
I'm
to
exci-
Aviture. We love Aviture. You guys are the best.
I appreciate that. And I'm excited to see where you guys show up next in the news, what your next accolade or milestone might be, and wish you all the best.
Me too. It should be fun.
All right. Well, thanks again for taking the time to talk with us. It was great getting to see a behind the scenes look at LifeLoop and how you're changing the way seniors can easily stay connected with their families, friends, and communities. That brings us to the end of today's webinar. A huge thanks to everyone who tuned in. And just a quick reminder that an email is on its way into your inbox. You can get that recording. If you've got a question or you want to find out more and get in touch with us, please feel free to email me at steve.miller@aviture.us.com, or you can visit us online at aviture.us.com as well for additional content, resources, and more. Before we leave, just one final thank you to Amy, and
Thanks, guys.
we'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody.